everyone. It is Wednesday and it's only a few days before Easter. I almost said Christmas, but it is Easter. And both my husband Alex and I, we are doing this thing where we realize that not everyone in our lives knows our story of faith and our journey, which is really ironic because it's very central to both of us, to who we are individually and then also as a couple, and even how we met. Like, I could go, that's a side story. I have this thing where I get sidetracked really easily. So I'm very trying really hard right now to stay focused. So basically, we are doing this thing where we're sharing our stories of faith, and now it's my turn. And I just want to put it out there that you can always like reach out to either of us. We are both very open to talking more about this. I really don't think a short video will do it justice because there's just so many more things to talk about and things to share. But yeah, don't ever feel awkward or uncomfortable asking us or talking about it, because we love talking about this. And even if you are not sure what you believe, or don't believe in God, we're still happy to talk about it. So yeah, so for my story, sorry, focus. For my story, I would say I grew up, quote unquote, nominally Christian. Like, I knew of the concept of Christianity because of my mom. Like, she called herself and considers herself Christian. And she would pray for me and say things like, God loves you, or I'm so blessed by God to have you, things like this that kind of gave me the concept of okay, maybe there is a God, or prayer is a thing. But I honestly had no idea anything about it. I did not understand who is God, what is a relationship with him, how do you become Christian, all these things, or how do you know this is real. I had just all these, I didn't even have questions, I just didn't know, and I didn't really care to ask. And I remember people would come up to me sometimes, my friends once in a while would ask me questions about it. I had literally no idea how to answer it because I didn't know. So looking back, I'm not sure really what I was, but I back then called myself Christian. My dad was not and still is not religious, and so neither Alex or I, neither of us grew up in Christian or church-going homes. So anyway, fast forward to high school. I went to this pretty high achieving and or at least I guess I was in the group of high achieving driven people, and so I was very focused on schoolwork and extracurriculars and just trying to get into college. Literally that was the goal of life when you were in high school, at least the high school I went to. And I remember it was still very compartmentalized for me. I remember I would try to pray sometimes because I was so stressed about work or schoolwork, and those were the only times I would pray. And every time I'd be like, God, I don't know if you're there, but I feel so bad that I haven't prayed. I'm such a bad Christian. I would just be so guilty every time because I'm like, what kind of Christian am I if I just pray when I need help? And I was so desperate. So, yeah, it was very much compartmentalized. I also was very cognizant of these labels of crazy, the media and the news always labels a lot of Christians as very crazy and weird. And so I just didn't want to be associated with it anyway. So yeah, I came to a point where I went to this, I remember I was it was my senior year. I went on a retreat, and it just happened to be the week or maybe 2 weeks before we had to make college decisions. For me at that time, I remember it was life or death for me. Looking back, I now know it was not life and death, but when you're in high school, it feels like the weight is on your shoulders. The world depends on you, or your life depends on you, and where you choose to go for college, that determines the rest of your life. So I had such a hard time. I was very desperate for help. And I remember doing pros and cons lists that were so long. I talked to everyone I knew about these two schools and stalked College Confidential, College Board, everything. I literally could not. It was I was in the middle of a crossroads and I could not choose. I felt so paralyzed and so stuck. And I was like, God, are you there? I really need help. And I remember very clearly, I was laying in bed, just so desperate, so lost and confused, and it was incredible because I can still remember that feeling where it was like my mind was like complete fog, and then I was like, God, I don't know, like I'm at the end of my rope. Are you there? I really need help. And I was just so desperate, and it was crazy because it was like it was like the light a light bulb literally went off, and the fog just all cleared, and it was like crystal clear to me which school I should choose, why, what were my hesitations, why those are wrong. Like it was like I did therapy of months worth therapy in like a second. So it was just like really, I was like tearing up when that happened because I was like, oh my gosh, I think God, is that God? Like, is he really there? And that just really struck a chord in me. Um, so anyway, that didn't turn me into like a Christian right away, obviously. It was that summer where two of my friends from childhood, Vivian and Sarah, they invited me to this Christian conference, and I didn't have an excuse this time not to go because I did not have SATs to study for. I didn't have anything because work was done. I was graduated out of high school, and I had been making plans in my head to go crazy and wild in college. So, and I was like, oh, like I guess I had no excuse. I'll just go. And then when I went, I saw all these amazing, like, joyful, loving, happy people, and I was like, this is so strange. Like, what do they have? What do they have that I don't have? Like, are they faking it? Are they, I don't know. It was just like very mysterious to me and made me realize that, I call myself Christian. They call themselves Christian, but they are living in a complete different zone than I am. Something is missing here. So, and also, people were going up sharing their stories and their testimonies of how they had been so broken, so lost, so sinful, and then they met Jesus, and then Jesus transformed them. And I was like, they are being so hard on themselves. Like, they're good people. I'm sure they don't do that bad of stuff. But back then, yeah, I was just very curious because of that. So yeah, then I went to college, and instead of going crazy and like going to all these parties like my first few weeks, instead I just went crazy to go to all these church things because I was like, I really got to figure out what this thing is, and why do we believe this? Like, why did Jesus die? Who is Jesus? How do we know he's real? How do we know God is real? I just had all these questions. And how do we know like Christianity is the only way? There's so many religions. So it was really incredible. Like literally the day I moved in, I actually did not intend to even meet these people, but there are people from these Christian fellowships helping me move in, and I actually started to build really awesome relationships and friendships with these people, and I got to ask them about their stories, their thoughts, and ask them questions. I was mentored by some older women as well who were just really patient, really kind, and just back then I thought I knew everything. I was like, I don't know about this, and but they were really patient with me and just wrestled with me through those questions. I also took a course to kind of like really that delved really deeply into breaking down like Christianity, like what is it really about. Anyway, I won't go too much into it, but I basically did a lot of exploring for myself, and meanwhile trying to figure out how do I do college and how do I live a life that is significant and meaningful. How do I love people but like not do it out of like selfish intent. So I just had all these. I think college is a really formative time where you try to figure out like what kind of person you want to become. And yeah, basically long story short, going through all the courses and learning from people and really wrestling through those questions, I came to a personal decision. Yeah, like this totally makes so much sense. And when I would go, I remember there was a year, this was after college, like there was a year after college where I basically tried to live as if I was atheist. Like I didn't pray, I didn't read my Bible because I was like, I just had all these doubts. And I remember that time was super, super significant for me because I just realized how different, how much it's like black and white, like living with God versus living without God. But the crazy thing is, even though I was quote unquote living without God, like He was still with me. There were so many moments. Oh man, this is already too long of a video, but there are amazing things that have happened where I was like, okay, God is definitely like pursuing me, and clearly that is not an accident. And fast forward, I met my husband when I was halfway across the world. I also moved to Australia, which was like one of the best things that's ever happened to me. And now I work for a church, and it's been so rewarding and grown me so much in like both professionally and personally, and like in community. And so all that to say, there have been so many amazing stories and testimonies. I will say, like, one of the turning points for me when it came to following Jesus or like making a decision was also just really asking questions and like dialoguing with people honestly about it. And again, we are always happy to do that with you if you don't know anyone, or if you do know other people you want to talk to about it. But that really was super helpful for me. And I look back and I'm just amazed at how much God has done, how much I've learned and grown and found significance and meaning and purpose, and also hope and joy and life. And I'm able to just like live out of a place of abundant love, just knowing that I am loved, I am secure, and I am enough, that I don't have to strive for it because God loves me and God sees me as His daughter. And there's so many things in this world that tell us we are not enough, that we have to strive, we have to try to earn things that we can't get unless we're good enough. But God, like the whole message around Easter is that God already saw us as worthy of love before we ever did anything. Even when we rejected, when humans rejected God, He came down to give His life up for us because He loved us even back then. And so yeah, I hope this encourages you. I definitely did not tell all the nuances of my whole story, but I kind of just wanted to share the core of it, of how I came to personally encounter and then also discover God and come to know Jesus. So yeah, hope this encourages you. If you have questions, feel free to reach out. And yeah, talk to you later. Bye.